أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم সুপ্রিয় বিবিএ সম্মান প্রথম বর্ষের ক্লাসে আমি প্রভাষক মাকসুদুর রহমান হিসাব বিজ্ঞান বিভাগ বিজয় সরণি বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় কলেজ ভাটিয়ারী সীতাকুণ্ড চট্টগ্রাম স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি। আসলে আজকে আমি অ্যাডজাস্টিং এন্ট্রিজ সমন্বয় জাবেদা নিয়ে তোমাদের সামনে আলোচনা করব। ইতিপূর্বেও আমি এই সমন্বয় জাবেদা নিয়ে প্রায় 8 থেকে 10টি ক্লাস তোমাদের জন্য আলোচনা করেছি। মাঝে এই যে সমন্বয় জাবেদা একটা ইম্পর্ট্যান্ট টপিক, সেটা কিন্তু তোমাদেরকে বোঝাতে চেষ্টা করেছি। এটা থেকে একটা অঙ্ক আসে, আবার এটা ওয়ার্কশিটে কাজে লাগে, আবার ফাইনাল অ্যাকাউন্টেও কাজে লাগে। তাই এই সমন্বয় জাবেদাগুলো খুব ভালো করে বুঝার মুখস্থ করার দরকার তোমাদের খুব বেশি। তোমরা এই বিষয়ে গুরুত্ব দিবে বলে আমার বিশ্বাস। মাকসুদ অ্যাকাউন্টিং ফ্যাকাল্টি চ্যানেল অথবা বিজয় সরণি কলেজ পেজ অথবা আমার আজকে আসলাম তোমাদেরকে মনে করা দিতেছি আর কি, যেহেতু ক্লাসরুমে তোমাদের মুখোমুখি participation class can because the atmosphere is not favorable now. So it is my duty to come in live and to continue classes with you. I earnestly request you to with me, to share with me, to join with me. All you are staying at home now. I hope that you are keeping in safe, not unnecessary. Try to stay at home and try to and procedure of some rules of health, because corona pandemic is going on, and it is also becoming strengthened day by day. So we should be careful about it, and we have to be patient. Pandemic, we will come and can share our joys and sorrows, news and our outside news also. So not to be, let's start our today's lecture. Prepaid expense. For prepaid expense, any kind of prepaid expense such as prepaid rent, prepaid salary, prepaid insurance, prepaid expense debit, expense credit, prepaid expense debit, expense credit, prepaid rent debit, rent expense credit, prepaid salary debit, salary expense credit, prepaid insurance debit, insurance expense credit. Now, prepaid expired. That means prepaid becoming expense. Now, prepaid expired, such as expired, then rent expense debit, prepaid and credit, insurance expense debit, prepaid, insurance credit. It is the journals of prepaid expense when prepaid expense is expired. That means when prepaid expense became when prepaid expense became an expense. When prepaid expense became an expense, when prepaid expense treated as expense, then expense debit, prepaid, expense credit. Expense payable, expense due, expense unpaid, salary due, utilities payable due, rent due or unpaid, then exit, expense payable credit, such as salary expense debit, salary payable credit, expense due paid, payable, expense debit, expense payable credit, such as utility expense debit, utilities payable credit, salary expense debit, salary payable credit, rent expense debit, rent payable credit. When income is receivable, when receivable, such as commission, revenue, interest, revenue, income is receivable. Then income receivable debit, income credit, such as commission receivable debit, commission revenue credit, interest receivable debit, interest revenue credit. When income, any income advanced, got in advanced, such as service revenue, then service revenue debit, unearned service revenue credit, apprenticeship premium, apprenticeship premium debit, apprenticeship premium credit. When any revenue, got in advanced, such as apprenticeship premium debit, unearned apprenticeship premium credit, such as service revenue debit, unearned service revenue. When depreciation expense is occurred, depreciation expense debit, accumulated depreciation expense on equipment debit, accumulated depreciation on equipment credit, depreciation expense on plant asset debit, accumulated depreciation on plant asset credit. When return off is recorded on intangible asset or fictitious asset, written off, amortization expense debit, goodwill credit, amortization expense debit, patent trademark credit, amortization expense debit or written off debit, preliminary expense credit. Muhammad Hussain, I love you, sir. I love you also. MD Shajib Chaudhary, sir, your expression is awesome. Miss you, sir, badly. Yes, I also miss you. If you get time, meet with me and sorrows in together. But debt students, I this journal. Dear students, I discussed this entries with you several times. Now, ending inventory, recorded adjust ending inventory debit purchase credit, or ending inventory debit income summary credit, or ending inventory debit income summary credit. Omitted sales, account receivable debit sales credit. Omitted purchase, purchase debit account payable credit. Interest expense payable, interest expense debit, interest expense payable. For supplies expense debit, supplies credit. For supplies debit, supplies expense credit. Dear students, here you are seen to be confused. You have to ascertain at first on which entries you are going to give journals. Is it expense or on hand? If expense, supplies expense debit, supplies credit. If supplies, that means asset, supplies debit, supplies expense credit. Goods withdrawn for personal use, withdrawn as per sample, advertising expense debit, purchase credit. Deferred advertisement debit, advertisement expense credit. Advertisement expense, debit, advertisement debit. Service provided but not billed, account receivable debit, service revenue credit. টাকা 10,000 as advanced in against service revenue. Service revenue debit, announced service credit. Goods loss on fire, abnormal loss, purchase credit. Income summary debit, loss on fire credit. Or income summary debit, purchase credit. Income summary debit, purchase. Goods destroyed by fire. goods destroyed by fire. We can, in this case, double entry, or we can also use the single entry. If we use the entry, purchase, income summary debit, goods destroyed, insurance claim, income summary debit, insurance claim debit,